Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our daily MLB pitching show that we do with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Right now we're looking at the pitching assignments for Friday, July 24th. Joe Duffy, all good at OffshoreInsiders.com this baseball season?
It's been a tremendous season, and we're working our tails off for football season. Make sure you watch those football previews that Peter Loshak and I are doing.
Friday, July 24th. I guess the first thing I want to ask you about, I was fading Chris Tillman for most of the year, and that was money in the bank, but his last four starts, very, very impressive. The strikeout to walk ratio is awesome. Here he's going to be at Tampa Bay, a lineup that can be held down. Is Chris Tillman suddenly one of the better pitchers in baseball?
I don't know if he's one of the better pitchers, but look, he's obviously in a little bit of an uptick to the point that I would jump on him. Not necessarily. Look, Chris Archer's been a pretty solid pitcher here, so maybe there could be some value. Maybe there could be some value because I have found that over the years, when you're taking a bad pitcher and he's in a nice groove, that's where you are going to get value, because you're sometimes going to get him getting too much on the road. So it might be a decent value situation.
All right, and then Zach Greinke and Max Scherzer both starting. Both those guys are dealing. Greinke, of course, on a massive shutout inning streak, which is just unbelievable. And he's going to be going on the road at Citi Field. He is off of 119 pitches, but, at Citi Field against the weak Mets lineup, is there any reason to believe that the Mets are going to be able to score on him? And is there any reason to believe that Pittsburgh will be able to hit Scherzer in any meaningful way?
Well, look, in the case, obviously, Zach Greinke, he's unconscious. You can't really go against him at this point. And Scherzer, he's the leading candidate for Cy Young, although who knows, Greinke might be it. So it's almost impossible to find any reason to go against either one of those pitchers at this point. But you're going to be laying the big number. So you have to make that decision that, hey, look, in some circle, you got to realize if you're getting 200 back, you only need to win 33% of the time. But you got to be very careful going against those guys at this point.
And then Justin Verlander, in his last start, we covered that start, and I said that I suspected that he was going to he had a good start, a great start actually, 2 starts ago. His velocity was up, but, I said that I thought he was going to get hit in his last start, and that did, in fact, come to pass. And here he's going to be starting at Boston. And Boston, as we know, their lineup has been underachieving. It feels like another spot where Verlander should get hit, in a hitter-friendly park against a lineup that should be better than it is. Is Verlander going to get hit again? And then Porcello on the other side has been very, very hittable. Is this an automatic over in Detroit at Boston?
Yeah, he's given up the 4th most home runs in the American League. Both of these pitchers are terrible. Verlander, like I said, I think he's Justin Verlander in name. At this point, you either want to go against Verlander or pass, or as you said, bet the over. And with an overrated pitcher at this point in his career, Justin Verlander, going against a guy who's gotten ripped this year in Porcello. And as you said, we know that Boston's bats are better than their statistics. I would agree with you. The over would be a strong lean at this point.
Okay, so then you do think that Boston's lineup will be able to take advantage of Verlander, and you're not concerned about their, kind of extended underachieving.
Yeah. I admit that Boston is one team that hasn't been as kind to me this year as most of the teams in Major League Baseball. Every single time Boston started to show a sign of getting out of their slump, I've jumped on them, and that's, Boston hasn't been a team that's been kind to me this year, but still, when you realize this late in the year that the totals are going to be based more on the stats to date rather than the fact they're underachieving, Boston is just too dangerous, and against an overrated pitcher, I think this is a pretty good spot for their offense.
Okay, and then Jose Quintana and Corey Kluber in White Sox at Cleveland, and we know that Cleveland, can struggle against quality lefties, and Quintana is certainly falls into that category, and he's actually been, I think, a little bit under the radar. Not every start is great from him, but most of them are pretty good starts, excellent starts. And then Corey Kluber, not likely that the White Sox hit Kluber hard, right?
Kluber's one of these guys who's pitched pretty well as of late. He's getting almost no run support. In the case of Cleveland, as you said, it might not be the best spot for them, so I would probably put a little bit of a check mark next to the under. But Kluber, again, after that rough start, he hasn't necessarily been pitching up to his Cy Young self of last year, but he has been pitching much better than his record would indicate. They're getting no runs for him. Now, I'm not a big believer in that it's going to be a case where that's more of something that happenstance, where teams just not giving a pitcher run support. I don't always look for that to continue. but still, as you said, not a great spot for the Cleveland bats, so probably a low-scoring game.
It's an interesting card, a lot of interesting situations. I'm not sure what my strong leans are going to be. I guess I'll be leaning, I guess my strongest lean would be to the over in Detroit-Boston, even though that line probably will close at 9.5. And I guess I'd lean under in Washington-Pittsburgh, something like that. What other games from the Friday, July 24th card interest you, Joe?
Well, you did mention Pittsburgh, and Jeff Locke's got a 1.96 ERA over his last 7 starts, and he's pitched very well at home all year, 2.58. And look, Felix Hernandez, he's a great pitcher who is pitching well. So it's tough to say to go with him because, like I said, you're not going to get great value. But don't outsmart yourself and think this is going to be maybe a good spot to go against him. He's got a 1.04 ERA in his last few starts. So another case, much like we were talking about with Scherzer and Greinke, they're great pitchers who are pitching well. Be careful about outsmarting yourself if you're somebody who likes to find good underdogs like I do.
Joe Duffy's website is offshoreinsiders.com. You, of course, can go there for his daily picks every day. Thanks so much, Joe.